The win snaps a 4-game losing streak for Denver, but it's a 5th straight loss for the Jaguars after they started the season 2-1. Broncos plus 100 on the money line. They cover the spread, and the under hits as well. And when you look at Trevor Lawrence's numbers, Pete, I mean, there's really not much you can say there. He just needs to be better.
He needs to be much better, and particularly in the red zone. He's made some really bad plays in the red zone. An interception here. Why they don't run the ball when they get down to the 1-yard line on first down is another mystery to me, but he's got to be better than what he's been. They're starting to be asked questions about him in Jacksonville, not by the team, but by people, fans and stuff. Is he the long-term answer? I think he is, but he's got to play better.
Welcome inside our CBS Sports HQ studios. Jeremy St. Louis alongside Jamey Eisenberg and Pete Prisco talking about the Denver Broncos win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, which snaps a 4-game losing streak for Denver. Jamey, what were your thoughts on just this Denver performance? Questions about Russell Wilson's health coming into this game, but he actually didn't play too badly.
He didn't play too badly. The first interception was ugly, but he hadn't played football, a couple weeks, and who knows how healthy he actually is, with his Wolverine blood, but he's able to
high knees on the plane. Don't forget about that.
His way through this. I think just for the Broncos, I like Denver in this game because mostly the defensive side of the ball, their defense has just been playing fantastic. And so when Jacksonville went up 7-0, I was like, okay, here we go, because they just had some trouble scoring. But the run game got them a little bit, still not where they want to be, but the touchdowns on the ground, Jerry Jeudy showing up. Cortland Sutton should have had a big catch that he dropped at the end of the game that ended up being the Latavius Murray touchdown there. But give Russell Wilson credit, give Nathaniel Hackett credit. They were able to rebound in this game. And Pete mentioned it. Greg Dulcich, fantasy-wise, he is going to be a potential starter week in, week out.
Pete, is this stay of execution for Nathaniel Hackett?
I think so. I mean, you can't fire him now after a win. But look, there's a new ownership group in there. They didn't hire him. They're probably going to make it to change if they don't win out or make the postseason after the season. But, it's not just him. What I saw in the second half and the fourth quarter was Russell Wilson played loose. He played like Russell Wilson did in his past at Seattle. He hadn't done that all year. And I think if you're the Denver Broncos and you're Nate Hackett, let him go. Let him play free. You could see the receivers started responding to it. It looked better for him, and I think that's the smartest thing to do.
In terms of the players that have been named that could potentially be involved in trades this coming week, the deadline coming up on Tuesday, Jerry Jeudy, a guy who gets a touchdown in this game, and Bradley Chubb. I mean, do you think there's any chance that, based on what you saw today, that those players could be moved, or are you pretty set that Denver's going to stand pat?
I think as what you're looking at this, and our great former GM Rick Spielman said this on our pregame show, that the defense can afford to maybe lose Bradley Chubb if they get the right offer, because you have to pay him probably a mega deal. Don't trade Jerry Jeudy, because this is a team that needs to establish their offensive identity, and he's looked really good the last 2 weeks. Maybe starting to figure out rust, the offense, whatever clicked. 6 for 63 last week, good game with Brett Rippon. So hopefully he's now starting to build toward a strong finish.
Pete, Russ said after the game that, there's still a lot of season left. So they're happy to get some momentum, happy to get back in the win column, but he says there's still a lot of season left. So if Denver does make a move at the deadline, what are your expectations for what they would do?
Oh, I think it would be Chubb because of the contract situation. Is he an elite pass rusher? No. Does he want to be paid like an elite pass rusher? Yes. And so that's the kind of guy you make a move for. A team out there that feels they're ready to make the playoff push and they're one pass rusher away, go get a guy like Chubb. He'll help you. But remember, if you trade for him, give up assets, you're going to have to pay him. That's always the hard part when you do a trade and pay.
So in terms of the Jacksonville side of things, I mean, what does Jacksonville do in this spot? They had such a great start, but now lost 5 in a row. Obviously, we've talked about Trevor Lawrence, that he's just not where he needs to be in terms of helping this Jaguars team. So what do the Jags do at this point?
Well, I'll defer to the Jags guy here.
Hey, we're killing Trevor Lawrence, and rightfully so, because he made a bad throw into the end zone. But he went and took the lead. That's the problem. They haven't been able to hold leads against the Colts. He brought them ahead. They drove to go take the lead. They couldn't hold the lead. Against the Eagles, they were winning. Against Washington, he went and put them ahead in the opener, and they drove down and took the lead. That's Carson Wentz. I mean, that's the problem. This team doesn't know how to win yet. There are certain things as a player, and you look around and things start going wrong, and they start wondering what they should do, including Trevor Lawrence, by the way. You don't know how to win. And I always reference a team that I covered way back in the day in 1996. The Jacksonville Jaguars found every way imaginable to lose early in the season. They outgained a team by 300 yards and lost the game because they turned it over. This team's a lot like that. That team went on a run, became the nucleus for what they became. They ended up making the postseason, and we're a dangerous postseason team, and we're one sniff away from being in the Super Bowl. This team isn't going to do that, but you got to learn how to win, because when things go wrong, they seem to spiral out of control.
But how close are they at this point?
Oh,
Because there's talent on this team.
Yeah, they're not close this year. Like Pete says, I think you got to learn how to win, but that's the thing that becomes the next evolution of where these young guys go, because I think now you're seeing, okay, the Travis Etienne investment looks fantastic, especially getting assets back for James Robinson, who was not someone I think that's part of their future. It's about, though, Trevor Lawrence eliminating the mistakes. The end zone throw, you could say that's on him. It's also on Doug Peterson to call a better game plan. But you're seeing Evan Ingram step up the last couple of weeks. Christian Kirk's got to get a little bit more established. They got to find, I think, another element in the passing game, because it's been Zay Jones, Marvin Jones.
They need a real
right. They need somebody to stretch the field a little bit. But I think you're starting to see the elements come into play, and then the defense just really has to make a key stop. Look, you hold the Broncos to 14 points before that final drive. That's a big win for that defense. You got to close the door, though, and that's, I think, the next step for that team.
Evan Ingram, a guy that you would add in fantasy, or leaving him off of this?
He's kind of been in that range of 60 to 70% anyway. So I think if he's available, based on what we've seen from him, yes. But they do have a bye next week, so probably not somebody that you can trust clearly until we get back until week 10.
Walker, first overall pick, has to learn how to put the quarterback on the ground. Josh Allen, we thought he'd be much better. A lot of people thought he'd be a double-digit sack guy because he had Walker on the other side. He hasn't done it. When you're in that situation, sack, fumble, game over. They haven't done it. That's the problem right now.
So bye week, then they have, Raiders next week for the Jaguars.
Broncos have a bye week next week.
Yeah, Broncos have the bye week next week. Raiders with the Jags, and then they have the Chiefs, and then they get their bye week. So I mean, it's not necessarily looking up for the Jags at this point.
This is going to be a season about learning. The second half of the season, you have to learn how to win.
Do you think they get, in the preseason, you picked them to get to the 6 wins. Do you think they're going to get there at this point?
I picked them to win between 5 and 7 is what I picked. So, yeah, 6. So, do I think they're going to get there?
Between 5 and 7 would be 6.
They'll get there. They'll get there.
All right, Pete Prisco, Jamey Eisenberg, Jeremy St. Louis, recapping the London game, the final London game this season, and the Broncos to snap a 4-game losing streak and get the 21-17 victory. They'll be talking about this game and, of course, all the pertinent storylines from this week in the NFL, and, of course, looking ahead to next week on the Pick 6 podcast. You can download and follow wherever you get your podcast audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.